Alzheimer's, What They Forget to Tell You, episode 43. Today we have Sharon, who's going to talk about her experiences, and I haven't spoken to her, so it's going to be a surprise for me too.
Hi. This is very strange, talking to a computer. Anybody online? Anybody there? Will it come up at the bottom?
Yeah, it typically does, but I think it's because it's the author page.
Oh, okay.
So it's not.
All right. Perfect. Well, my story begins with my mother-in-law, actually. There's something very unique about her in that she's deaf. So it's another layer on top of the dementia. I probably sort of figured it out, and the signs were telling when she started putting a lock on every single room in her house.
Okay.
On every door.
Like by herself?
No, she asked friends to come in and
okay.
start putting locks on her master bedroom, her bathroom, her office.
Because were people stealing stuff?
People were stealing stuff.
Right.
Yes, and she started saying that people were moving her mail, even though she lives alone.
Okay.
So she started those sort of signs. So before, we used to visit her every once in a while, or she used to come up maybe once a month, once every 2 months. When that started happening, who's that?
I don't know. Probably people we won't
Who knows?
Yeah.
So she started putting the locks on all the doors. And I asked her, I said, why are you putting the locks on all the doors? And she said, well, people are coming in and moving her mail and stealing things from her. I said, okay, that's fine. Just let me know where the keys are, just in case an emergency or whatever. And then probably about 6 months after she put locks on all of her doors, we picked her up for Christmas. And she was frantic. She was frantically searching in the fridge for stuff. And I'm saying, what are you looking for? I'm signing to her because I know I'm fluent in sign language. Mm-hmm. And she goes, my meat is gone from the fridge. And I said, well, did you put it in the freezer? Did you put it somewhere else? She goes, no, it was right here. And then all of a sudden she had a light bulb moment. It was like, oh, I know. My friend stole it.
Oh, okay. The meat.
The meat.
Okay.
The meat in the fridge that she was going to bring over to my house for Christmas. Her friend came in and stole it. So I said to her, well, I said, she identified the friend. And I said, well, does she have keys to your apartment? No. But I know she stole it.
Okay.
So the whole logical part wasn't there, right?
And everyone's stealing, taking.
Yes. Yeah, stealing and taking things from her or moving things in her apartment. So then that was a real big light bulb moment for me. My husband was, she's always telling stories about this or that, or she's just joking with you, whatever. And I said to Peter, I said, no, really, she really believed that somebody came in and stole her meat. Like, mm-hmm. This is an indication of things to come because I recognized it, right? So we just left it for a while. And other things started happening. She said to me that someone had come in and drank all of her alcohol.
Okay.
Right? And my husband said, well, she probably drank it herself. She forgot. Whatever, right? I said, no, I don't think so. Because she never really carried alcohol in her house.
Right.
So, or she would only have alcohol there just for her friends and stuff. So, so weird things started happening. So again, I was saying that there's another layer on top of this, is that she's deaf, right? So I started looking for services. At that time, it was only a suspicion. It was a suspicion that she may be going through some things, Alzheimer's, dementia, whatever. But we'd not mentioned it to her doctor yet. She had a couple of strokes as well in between there. She's had 3 strokes.
Wow.
She lost her husband my husband's father passed away probably 2007, so that was 11 years ago. So we thought maybe it was stress. She was forgetting things, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But I sort of saw the signs. So the last stroke she had was probably about 2 years ago. She actually didn't have a stroke. They thought it was a stroke, but she had low iron,
Okay.
nutrition deficiency,
So
anemia.
anemic. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because she's not eating properly, because she lives alone, and she and I actually, as I started to visit her more often, I started to get more stories from her as to why she was only using her oven as storage.
Okay.
Because she was forgetting stuff in the oven. She was burning things. She would forget the oven was hot, and she would burn herself on her hands and her fingers and stuff, and
Yeah.
she would forget to put the oven mitt on. So she wasn't really eating a lot of good food, right?
Right.
She'd have sandwiches and cream cheese and like really gross stuff. So she had anemia. Anyway, so that put her in the hospital. Um, and then she started, and the last time she was in the hospital was 2 years ago. What I told my husband is I want to be more involved in her doctor care, her health care. So I said to him, we need to go to the doctors with her every appointment,
Mm-hmm.
just to find out what's going on medically, and her her pills and all that stuff. So I started doing that 2 years ago. So now I visit her every 2 weeks to drop off her medication, and sometimes more,
Right.
depending on what her needs are at the time. Sometimes I go every week. Sometimes I go every other week. It just depends on my schedule as well. But since then, there has been more and more and more signs. And I think, what the heck? I came into her apartment one time, and she goes, she opened her freezer, and she goes, "Oh my gosh, thank you so much." And I went, "For what?" And she goes, "You cleaned my freezer. You cleaned my..." And she opened her fridge, and she said, "And you cleaned out my fridge. Thank you so much. It looks so nice." And I said, "I didn't clean out your fridge or freezer."
Yeah.
And she goes, "Oh, you're teasing me, right? Somebody came in. Thank you so much for doing that." And my cupboards, it looked like you wiped down my cupboards and everything. And it's like, "Well, you're welcome, but I didn't do that."
Yeah.
Right? I said,
Yeah.
"Do you remember?" Anyway, so there was little signs like that. Another time I came in, and she was, so the stories were more frequent in
Right.
nature,
Right.
of things being moved, friends coming in and stealing more stuff,
Right.
hangers appearing in the closets where there was no wire hangers before.
She's just not remembering.
No,
Right.
no, she's not remembering, because in my bedroom, when I go over and visit her, that's where all of her spare clothes are.
Right.
And she told me on Skype that she was cleaning out her apartment, cleaning out just cleaning out her apartment and stuff. And so when I went in, she goes, "All these wire hangers are here." And I said, "Well, you told me that you cleaned out some clothes." And she goes, "No, someone came in and put wire hangers in here." And she goes, "I was cleaning, but I've got more hangers in here than I had before." And I bet it was that friend. Who's that friend? That came anyway. So that friend came and put more wire hangers in her closet when she wasn't home.
Right.
So it was So the stories got more frequent. So this takes me up to probably around 4 months ago, 4 or 5 months ago, one of her doctor's visits. Because of the stories were getting more frequent, I wanted her doctor to be more aware of it. So I asked, while we were in the doctor's office, I said, "Can you tell some stories about the wire hangers to the doctor?" So I was interpreting what she was saying. And then I said, and what about people coming into your apartment and moving things. What was the last story that you had? And she was telling her doctor all of this. And then her doctor went, oh. And I went, yeah.
But you were saying that he didn't give her medication, or he thought it was something else at first.
Yeah, well, at that time, the doctor said, you know what, let me refer you to a service.
Okay.
And that service will actually come into the home. And it's a nurse. It's a wraparound service. Am I allowed to say it online?
Yeah. Yeah.
I think it's I think it was a Trillium Health Center.
Okay.
Mental health team, and they also deal with dementia. Apparently, dementia, Alzheimer's, that
Right.
sort of thing. So she said, let me refer you to them first because they will work in tandem with me, the doctor, to
I didn't even know they had that.
No.
Well, they don't have that here.
Not in Brampton, probably. She lives in Etobicoke.
Yeah, it must be different. We don't have a wraparound service.
No. That's too bad.
Yeah.
Because it's very difficult seeing that, and then, and talking with my husband and saying, like, you're not understanding. This is going to get worse.
And it could get it's progressive, and you don't know how much time you have in between.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Some weeks she's perfect. Some weeks she's not.
Or even in a day.
Yeah.
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 So we got this service into our home. So the nurse came in and we had the first appointment, and then I think I've had about 4 appointments after that with the nurse being there. There was probably a couple months into the service, my mother-in-law and my husband and myself went to the bank. She had some stuff to do with the Polish bank. So the Polish bank sent her some papers asking for different things, but it was all in Polish language, and we don't understand. She doesn't understand either because she's deaf, right? She didn't really know the terminology or whatever. So I was at the bank with her, with my husband, and on other matters. And I said, because the person at the bank spoke Polish, right? Mm-hmm. We recognized the last name, and my husband says, do you speak Polish? And they started speaking Polish to one another, and I said, remember that paperwork that was in your purse? Show it to her, and she can let you know, interpret what it is. So she did whatever, and then I thought it was a I don't know. My mother-in-law got very, very upset. Very, very upset. And I was asking her the question, because she was telling me in sign language that she sent the paper.
Okay.
So the sign in sign language is I sent the paper. Sign language is very directional.
Okay.
And the person you're communicating with needs to know, who did you send the paper to? Right? You sent it.
Okay, to who?
To who?
Mm-hmm.
Right? And I asked, and she just kept repeating herself. I sent the paper. I said, okay. So, and then I tried to re-explain. Okay, so you had the paper in your hand, and then person's over, like, who did you send it to? Who? Right? And she just repeated herself. And as I was trying to explain to my mother-in-law, she just got more upset and more upset and more upset.
Okay, this is like twofold now. So you're dealing with dementia and sign language.
Yes.
Like a language deficiency or whatever,
yeah.
Right? And so who's going to be able to deal with that?
Right.
Oh. Okay.
Me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. There is.
And then when she forgets how to sign, because, right, it's progressive. So what happens then? Frustration.
Confusion.
Confusion.
Yeah.
Like, because now that's her
anger.
only. Yeah.
Anxiety.
Yeah. Depression.
Yeah, depression. Yeah. Yeah, it's very it's very difficult when you've got that other layer on top of it.
Well, I would assume, like, same thing as a language barrier. Because if, the person that's caring for you does not have that language.
Right.
Because let's be honest, a lot of people, even who, let's just say their parents speak two languages.
Yeah.
You might not, as a child, you might not have necessarily learnt that language.
Right.
So then, because I've heard with some dementia patients, they will just speak in their mother tongue.
Right.
They forget English altogether. Right. So there's still a barrier.
Mm-hmm. Because my mother-in-law's first language is Polish Sign Language. So the Polish Sign Language is much different than ASL, which is the American Sign Language. American Sign Language I understand. Polish Sign Language not so much. If she was to, I know a little bit, but not.
So then you'd have to get a specific.
Back. Yes.
Do they have that?
They not. No, they don't. No, they don't. We would have to fly someone over from Poland.
Or Skype. You'd have to Skype.
Or Skype it.
Somebody
in Poland, maybe an interpreter in Poland. Or someone who knows Polish Sign Language. There's very few people around the GTA, few interpreters that know Polish Sign Language.
I would think so.
Yeah.
That's like very specific.
Yeah. I have noticed her language, she's dropping her pronouns. So that whole directional thing, I've noticed that for a while, that she's dropping her pronouns.
Is she on medication now?
She isn't. And the reason for that is the wraparound service came in, and after the bank, my mother-in-law had a bit of an incident. She freaked out when we got outside of the bank, and then she freaked out when we got into pulled into her condo. She was very upset. I've never seen her that upset before. Part of that was my fault because I was frustrated as well. But she turned around and she says, "You're a lousy communicator." I was helping her with her bags.
But she knew that. She knew how to say that.
Yeah, she knew how to say that. Yeah.
Not who she sent the paper to.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. But it was funny. It was weird because, so she said that. She turned around. I had her bags all, like, she had stayed at my house for a couple of weeks, so I had all her bags on me and stuff. And then she turned around and she says, "You're a lousy communicator." And I'm like going, and I dropped her bags and I went, "What?" And she goes, "You're a lousy communicator." And like yelling at me in sign language. And I
How
said,
do you yell in sign language?
Your signs are just much bigger.
Really?
And usually, yeah, your signs are very, very much bigger and more aggressive.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. So instead of lousy,
yeah,
she went, "Lousy." So a little bit of a difference.
I know.
Yeah. Instead of like, in communication, like it faltered because it drops. Your communication. Yeah, she was. Yeah. So I dropped her bag.
Okay, so all right. How are you coping? Because now you're doing like you're interpreting. You're kind of dealing with the disease. You don't know what you're gonna get, and you're working. And yes. You have a family, so how are you managing?
And the wraparound service dropped their service because we weren't complying to medication. The medication they wanted to put her on was Seroquel.
Okay. Like a tranquilizer?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I said no. Because she has vascular dementia, which was caused by her strokes.
Do they know that, though?
They know that.
Okay, now they know that.
They are the one that told me. So 2 years ago when she was in the hospital, she had an MRI. The hospital didn't tell me.
But the good news is vascular dementia, I think, is probably one of the only ones that it's not fatal.
That's right.
Yeah. So
yeah.
You could actually be cured from that.
Really?
Yeah. I think it's one of the only, because it's stroke related, something to do with, like, that's the difference. Alzheimer's, no. Like, there's no cure for Alzheimer's. Like, it's one of them, I think, that you could possibly, it might not get worse.
The nurse told me it could get progressively worse.
It could.
And I've seen it getting progressively worse.
Well, she's not on any medication.
No, she was not.
They're not treating.
Not yet.
Yeah, they're not treating it.
No,
so.
no. They told me that there was no medication for vascular dementia. Now I haven't done the research.
I'm not sure if that's true.
Yeah,
but I'll have to check into that. I don't think that's true.
Yeah. So how am I coping?
Yeah, how are you coping? Yeah.
Well, I also have an 81-year-old mom.
Okay.
Who has had a lot of, who needs a lot of help right now, and I'm helping her sort out her house, and she's 4.5 hours away. So I have mother-in-law that I've got, and I've got a 21-year-old son as well. So how am I coping?
Yeah.
I'm coping through sleeping pills.
Yeah, I've been there. And how about work? How are you balancing?
I'm just,
That's a loaded question.
I'm managing now.
Okay.
Now I'm managing, but I'm barely managing.
So, okay, with the wraparound service now no longer.
No longer.
So how is that going to affect, obviously, big time?
Yes. That means I will need to be the primary caregiver for her.
And she's still in her own home?
She's still in her own home. She's still functioning on her own. She refuses to look at retirement homes.
But for how long?
I know. Yes.
And she's not going to be able to tell you.
Yeah. Yeah. We now have power of attorney over her finances and personal care. So we've set that in motion.
Which, again, for anyone watching, it's probably, I always say this, it's probably one of the first things that you should do once there's a diagnosis.
Yes.
Is get your financial affairs and decision making in order.
Yeah.
Because it could go really quick.
Yeah. And that's what we found too. As soon as I got the diagnosis from the nurse, not the hospital, the nurse from the wraparound service, because she got the files from the hospital, and she was reading them to me, and she goes, yes, she's been diagnosed with dementia 2 years ago. I'm going, what?
2 years ago?
2 years ago from the hospital, but the hospital failed to tell me that. So as soon as I heard that, I said to my husband, okay, we have to get her affairs in order. Because what happens too, what I found out is that if a lawyer, so if you're trying to get title on a house, or if you're doing any wills or anything, the lawyer will actually, there's very few lawyers that will touch wills or banks that will
it's a red
have
flag.
You put your son or daughter's name on an account if they know that they have dementia.
Because it's competence,
yes,
right?
It's competence. So you have to do that before. Yeah. Before that.
Before.
Yeah. Yeah, because I've had some dealings with that. So, but it's been very supportive. So, yeah, how am I coping? I'm really trying to trying to find the time. I'm going to the dentist. I went to the dentist yesterday. I absolutely hate the dentist. Okay? I absolutely hate
I don't think anyone likes the dentist.
No, I don't think so either.
They get a bad rap.
But you know what? I was thinking to myself, oh my God, I have 1 hour just to lie here.
That's bad. Okay, that's bad.
And then after my appointment, I went, yeah, exactly that. It's like, okay, that's bad.
Yeah.
I need, I take vacation time. So that's sucked up.
Of course.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. Like, it's not a vacation.
No.
And you'll never be, sorry to say, it's going to be very difficult for you to go on vacation without thinking about that.
Yes. Yeah.
That's always going to be in your mind.
Yeah.
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 So if you had to choose the top 3 things that you need now, or that you would have liked to be in place once that diagnosis came, what would you say?
For my
For you.
mother-in-law? Oh, for me?
Yeah.
What
that would
things?
assist you, even if it is something for your mother-in-law,
Oh,
what
that it would assist
yeah.
me. I would like caregiver days, um, and to be paid for those.
Correct, because it's a job.
Yeah.
Right.
From my employer or from a government
Ministry of
subsidized
Health,
program,
perhaps.
Ministry of Health program, that would help me greatly, so I don't have to suck up all my vacation days and stuff. And also, I don't have to tell her that, oh, you can't go to the doctor this week because I can't get time off, right? So it's a twofold thing.
Or having doctors come to the house.
Right. Yeah. But she doesn't have that service. Her doctor is in an office, right? She also needs an interpreter with her. She also trusts only me to interpret, especially medical stuff. So recently she's hurt her back, or her back is hurting her.
I find it...
And I've had to tell her, I can't go to the doctor last week. I can't go to the doctor this week. So you're going to have to wait until next week.
People don't understand the supplementary hours. Like, you know, there's, even if I don't know because my mom's never been in a home, but if she was, I would still be the only point of contact. So I would still be sacrificing time. And I know it's my mom, so of course it's not like a sacrifice, but you understand.
Yeah.
Like, and people just don't see it like that. There's 24 hours in a day, and it takes a team of people to look after your loved one.
Yes.
It's not just a nurse.
Yes.
A nurse isn't going to completely care for your loved one.
And
they're doing their job.
And that's the second thing that I would like
Yeah.
that would be helpful for me is to have a team.
Right, a team.
A team of people, a knowledgeable team of people, right? That will listen also to the family's concerns. Because I felt that when that service dropped me, I just like, what? Just because I won't put her on Seroquel because I'm afraid her to have another stroke? You're dropping me? However, I must say that the service did say, you know what, if your mother-in-law gets, you know, if you're seeing more signs and more signs and more signs, and then call us back right away, and we'll put her on right away. So that was good.
But then, that's great, even though not great.
Yeah.
But I mean, there's nothing like, it's not universal. Like we have OHIP, which is the Ontario Health Plan, but it's not universally applied. So like Etobicoke gets that.
Right.
Brampton doesn't get that.
Yeah.
You know, Mississauga might get something different. Halton might get something different. Like I don't understand, even the Alzheimer's societies function like that. They don't function in unison. They function in silos. So it's not an apply. Like I can't go to like Toronto. Like I always have rave reviews about the Alzheimer's Society of Toronto, but I assume it's because there's more funding, and more people, the population. Yeah. But I mean, you can get a lot of things that you cannot get in Peel, and it's not. It should be
universal.
Well, yeah, wherever you go, it should be the same. I should have the same access. I shouldn't be geographically challenged.
Yeah.
Like I'm
marginalized.
Yeah. Right?
I live in Brampton.
So it shouldn't be like that.
Yeah.
And there's so much work like I do research all the time about caregivers. We save billions of dollars to the health system, and then we don't get it back.
Right.
It's just, I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. So you said three things. One would be.
So you want a team.
I want a knowledgeable team.
Right. And the second one is, the caregiver days that you get paid for, which is great.
For. And maybe specifically to my mother-in-law, I would like services specifically to certain disabilities. So it doesn't only have to be deaf, but maybe blind, maybe persons with different types of disabilities. The aged, the senior population, where there are partners or couples or partners, where their loved one is is going through Alzheimer's and dementia, and more support for that. Because I do have friends, I guess I'm part of that generation where there's a sandwich generation, right?
Mm-hmm.
We are the sandwich generation. Hi. I have a lot of friends that their parents, and one of them is suffering from Alzheimer's, but both of them still live in their home.
I have a friend like that too. And her father's health is suffering because of it, because there's no support for him.
Yeah.
And that the issue is that because he's there, he should just take care of her, even though he's not equipped.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so he gets less respite hours just because of that.
Yes.
And they want to farm people into like these day programs, even if it's not conducive for that person.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? Like they don't take account of early onset individuals, such as my mom too. Like when she went to the day program, she was 57, and there were people there that are like 80. Like it's not fair.
No.
Right?
No. So there might need to be different levels of
like daycare.
Why don't
they do it's reverse aging. So just do it like they do at daycare.
Yeah.
You don't put older kids with younger kids.
Yeah.
So what? It's just common sense.
Yeah.
Early, late, or moderate, and then severe.
Yeah.
But the worst part of it is, so if you ever really had to look into these respite programs, it's like if you display Alzheimer's symptoms, you can't come. So like if you're aggressive, like there's
right. Yeah.
So that then what are we doing here?
Yeah.
It's like just a program.
Right.
It's an adult program.
Right. Yeah.
I don't know. So on my list it would be that if you're gonna have places where at least a person can go, because you get trapped in your house.
Yes. It's very isolating.
Yeah, it's isolating. You become depressed. You don't want to bring them out because it's a feat. It used to be a feat for me taking my mom in a car. Mm-hmm. You know, you have to plan it way in advance. Like it's like a project.
That's what a friend of mine said to me. Like she was taking her mom to the hairdresser, and she has Alzheimer's, and she said, I have to. I'm going out with my mom tomorrow.
You have to have like a 3 hour
taking her for the haircut.
Yeah, because
she said I have to plan everything.
Because you never know. She might not want to get in the car. She might want to get out of the car. She might, have a depth perception thing where she's, it's like, she could have an accident.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I remember those days.
Yeah, the depth perception.
Yeah, like they have stepping down and up. They have a problem with stairs like that because they can't. Something happens where they're underestimating or overestimating.
Oh, okay.
So they get scared stepping.
Oh,
like
really?
So getting into the car was hard because our brain is telling us it's right there, but their brain isn't telling them that.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that.
So they get stiff.
Yeah. Yeah. Which again would be another complicated thing for a person who is deaf, because already their balance is off because their inner ear, their inner eardrum is off. So my mother-in-law is always like wobbled down the hallway because her balance is off.
Yeah.
Anyway, because she's deaf, right? Oh, thanks.
Yeah, it'll be worse.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, that's nice.
So like getting them to step, like it could take a long time, and just could be a little step, but it could take a long time for them to, like, you to coax them.
Right.
Like just put your leg up, or sometimes I'd have to put her leg up and then kind of like push her.
Yeah.
And then.
Oh boy.
Yeah. Like. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So yes, I think we have a long way to go, and I think I have a long way to go. My husband is now saying, which bless his heart, right? He's saying, well, maybe we should have her move in with us.
Well,
and
it'll make it.
I said, sure. I said, who's going to quit their job, you or me?
It would have to be you.
It would have to be
because
me.
Because he can't communicate with her.
Oh yeah, he can. He's fluent in sign language as well, right? But he looked at me, goes,
"But you're,
No, you wouldn't quit. You wouldn't have to quit your job." I said, "Okay."
Or you'd have to hire somebody.
Yeah.
And then how? Because of the language,
Yes.
the sign language.
Yes.
So, no, you couldn't. See, this is my whole point of, like, what people don't understand. Like, you financially have to make these decisions, and you don't get compensated for it.
No.
Yeah.
No.
So,
Yeah.
a lot of work to do.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
yeah.
So I think, unfortunately, what we might have to do, and I try to encourage my mother-in-law to still, I'm still trying to talk her into, a year later, please come and visit some retirement homes with me, right?
But there's a waiting list.
Yeah, I don't know if she would be able to afford private. I'm not sure. Yeah.
Because, private is...
Yeah. Unfortunately, I think what will happen with her is that her dementia, I've seen it progress little by little. Eventually, she will come to a point where she won't have a choice, and it will be us putting her somewhere, which is very sad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm sure a lot of people go through that, where they just can't, it's not feasible to bring that person at home. And again, it's always like I always say, my mom, I don't know whether it's a blessing or a curse, but she only has Alzheimer's. Like, she doesn't have any other health concerns. She didn't have a stroke, or she didn't, right? And so, which is probably why 18 years and counting, she's still here. But I mean, when there's other things like strokes and other, I
high
think,
blood pressure,
like I just, it's not
and
feasible to have that person at home. I don't think, personally, and it would be prohibitive, the cost, because you would have to hire like a nurse, because it couldn't just be a caregiver.
Yeah, that knows Polish sign language.
Yeah. So right. So these are things, and it's unfortunate decisions like that have to be made.
Yeah, and the sad thing about it is that our population is aging at such a rapid rate. A lot of people are retiring, and there's a huge amount. I remember when I was younger and just starting in this field, and human services field, and they were talking about then. Well, in 20, 30 years' time, we're going to have a huge aging population, and then there's going to be a lack of skilled.
What did they say in 2030? That 50% of the population is going to be over 50.
Yeah. Yeah, that's just.
And people don't understand.
No.
What the
ramifications.
Fallout, right? They don't understand what that means.
Yeah.
As a society.
Yeah. Because if you're not proactive with your services and your funding and your supports and your community supports, it's like building houses without having any social structure
or like
to that community, right?
They even say dementia. Like by 2050, 135 million people worldwide will have dementia.
Wow. So
it's like 1 in 3.
Wow.
Right, so it's going to affect you.
Yeah.
It's going to affect you, and people are just like, oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. No, but it is.
Yeah.
Like, it's happening now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. But we'll do what we can.
Yeah, I don't know what time it is.
It's late.
Have I been talking for an hour?
No, only 38 minutes, but that's good.
Yeah.
We have to get you on, because I'm sure there's more to come. But we're going to sign off now. Thanks for watching. I'm going to put this on my wall, and Sharon will put it on her wall too. And the usual suspects. And stay tuned next week. I think Kalina might come on, because her grandmother passed, and she might be ready to talk about it. It's so sad. Okay.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.